Before we start, let's go ahead and get our sponsors out of the way. This podcast is brought to you by Fernando Chavira Real Estate. If you are in the Houston area or the surrounding Houston area and you have a real estate problem, whether you are buying and selling a home or you are simply investing, feel free to give us a call at 832-896-7615. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. Welcome to we weren't doing episode. Welcome back, guys. We are kicking this episode off. We were debating if I wanted to do episode 1 or 2 of this. Obviously, my name's Fernando. I'm here with the one and only Kim.
Hi, guys.
And so after we reviewed episode 1, we went back and we were like, I didn't watch most of it, honestly.
I only watched like the 15 minutes we watched of it here.
And so we wanted to go into dating, but what we wanted to not just jump right into it, we kind of talked a little bit about it, and we wanted to format it in a sense of kind of like the intro to dating.
Intro to Dating 101.
Right? Yeah, you can call it the intro. And so there was a few things that have happened since. You can hear the dog drinking water in the back.
You can?
Yeah, a little bit. It's fine. So we made a poll on what? What are you laughing at?
Sorry.
It wasn't.
He's just a slurp.
Yeah.
Slurp.
We found out that, like, okay, so you're not actively dating, right?
No.
Okay, and then neither am I. And then there are. Actually, I lied, and I'll get into this later. But I actually created a Hinge, but we'll touch on that later. I really wanted just to see what it's like on Hinge. I'm not sure if I'm gonna entertain it, but I don't know. But so we started from we wanted to figure out, in a sense, instead of just jumping right into the dating scene, we wanted to kind of tap into a little bit more of, are you fit to date? If you take a trip and you're going somewhere, you pack your bags and you pack accordingly.
You get prepared. You buy things that you need.
Swimsuits, whether it's snow gear, whatever the trip is, right? And so I think we both kind of agreed on the fact that, like, it's easy to point the finger at the opposite sex or the individual and say it's their fault, that things didn't work out, or all men are dogs and all women are garden tools, right? And so I think that's the very easy thing to do. I think that's more of the immature, in my opinion, thing to do. And so we wanted to figure out, before we jump into the whole dating aspect, I think it was a good structure to have and ask the question, are you
ready to date?
Yeah, are you fit to date? Are you fit to date?
I can feel his breath on my neck.
Are you ready to date? And then what are some of the things that, before you get into the dating scene, these are some of the things that we feel need to be discussed prior to getting into the dating scene. And so,
really, it's things you should actively be doing in between relationships or, situationships. For some people,
I don't even like situationships. I think
they're the worst.
Yeah.
But
so let's jump right into it. And so I kind of wrote down a couple things, and so dating from the aspect of, are you fit to date? And then I broke it down to 2 kind of subcategories where the first one should be pretty quick, is like just dating for fun. And then I just kind of put get down.
Ooh.
I just put free game. I think any, or fair game. I think anything when you're dating for fun is just pretty much, as long as you conversate that and you let the person know the intentions of it. I feel like if you're just dating for fun and you're seeing multiple people just to kind of see where it goes, test the waters, I think anything's kind of free game at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that should be communicated, because some people are out there, looking for love and whatnot, but there's definitely been times where I've been on both ends of that spectrum. So
did you let did you let whoever you were involved with at the time that's what it was?
Maybe not as clearly, but You live and you learn.
I think as we get older, we're a little bit more intentional and transparent with what it
I
is.
think also I wanted one thing at first, and then I was like, well, maybe I'm not ready for that yet.
That's fair. I have a lot of those where I get into things, or I used to get into things, and I'm like, I don't know if this is it. Unfortunately, some of those are after a couple, like a year or so of dating, where I'm like, I, I don't know.
Did I want this?
Yeah. Do I still want this? And so I think from the fun aspect, if you're just dating for fun, and it's communicated, and y'all are all on the same page, I think it's all fair at that point. I will say that someone usually catches feelings though, if y'all are,
Yeah.
if one's person more involved than the other.
I think that both people have to actively be having fun together and separately. And there are certain people, I feel like it can work. I've had it work with guys in the past where, we were casual. We would hang out. We would, hook up, or we would go on dates, but we would still go and hang out with people together, or we'd go hang out with their friends, my friends, but we were never an item. We were never a
exclusive
thing.
almost.
Yeah, we were never exclusive. So
let's jump into the intentional side of it. And so I took some notes, and I think we came down to, I think there's like 7 of them. Is there 7 of them? Yeah.
I wish I had my receipt.
I think they were kind of the same though. There was the same,
I think it was the same points.
And so what we came up with was, prior to getting into the dating scene, these are things that we kind of felt were necessary to self-evaluate and just kind of check these boxes and make sure we're not out there wounded and still being unintentional with what's happening. If you're dating to be intentional with a purpose, right? And so number one, the number one on here that we came up with was emotional stability and maturity. You want to dive in a little deeper into that?
Emotional stability is a big one. I think it goes hand in hand.
I think stability and maturity were kind of the same thing. I like the word maturity, so I just wrote it down, but I think it's more emotional stability. What do you define emotional stability?
Emotional stability. Being able to regulate your own emotions, understand your emotions, feel your emotions, and communicate that effectively. Hey, I can't have this talk right now. I'm really stressed out. I'm dealing with this, or I'm trying to cook, or, I'm at work and I can't talk to you. I can't give you my full attention to have this conversation about something that is bothering you right now. Like, also, I think not texting, big issues.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of things
in person, but I do feel like sometimes there are times things maybe need to be brought up immediately. But I think texting is a big thing. I think texting arguments, especially with me, because the way that I say things is just very blunt, and I think it comes across very rude.
I can see that.
In the way that I say things, yeah. So I feel like in my opinion, when my tone of voice is not conveyed, a text message, I'm just going to sound like a bitch.
Misinterpreted, yeah. For me, I will say that I think emotional stability for me, I think had I not gone through what I went through in the past, I don't think I was really, for me, I feel like I needed to go through that to learn where I'm at today. I think I'm at a point now where I have done, quote unquote, like the inner work to really learn and get a little bit more familiar with my emotions and learn what things, whether it's me overstimulated, stressed, whether it's me scared, nervous, vulnerability is a big thing for me, and I'm leaning more, which is part of this podcast and doing all this and kind of putting myself out there, is to work on those things. I think when I was in the past, when I was dating, not just my most recent relationship, but the ones before that, I think there was a fear, which fear is an emotion in my opinion, and so I would fear certain outcomes or certain phases of the relationship where it was easier for me to run. And so being more in tune with myself and kind of reflecting back on those things, I now feel like I am a little bit more comfortable with my emotions and learn, when I'm maxed out at certain things or when I don't feel comfortable with certain things. And I have no problem now communicating those things. And so I think the emotional stability is a huge thing. I know some individuals that actively date, and I don't think that, whether it's an insecurity. Is that on there?
Yeah, insecurity is on there.
Is it an individual one or no? I
I
don't
thought
think
it
so.
was it was part of
It was part of one of these, yeah. And so yeah, I think it's just learning and regulating your emotions in a sense of when you're being, would you consider jealousy an emotion?
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just learning to be aware what things trigger you to be a certain way. Because when I get a little bit lonely or I get a little bit sad, it's usually one around this time of year. This time of year is very.
I think that does it for everybody because there's the holidays,
Hmm.
it's getting
The weather change,
colder, everyone wants to nest, they
time
want to be
change, not weather
cozy and
change.
home, you know.
And so it used to be a big thing for me. Even when I was in a relationship and this time of year would come, I would still feel that. And so what I'm learning now is,
That's not really something that I've ever struggled with. I do that through the summertime. I'm always like,
but
it's hot outside, like,
you don't
I'm
like
gonna
that
go to the
one.
beach or like go sit on a patio somewhere. That's when I'm like, oh, I wish I had someone to go do something with.
Yeah, no, this time of year does it for me. And I think it's the weather change is a combination of them. And I think the holidays, when you start seeing everybody with their significant other, you're just kind of like, dang, it'd be nice to go do like, Thanksgiving or whatever holiday thing with somebody. Which, I mean, I don't know. It's part of it. I know I'm not the
I
only
don't
one
have
that
the
deals with
same
it.
relationship, I guess, with my family. Like, we don't have a huge holiday thing. So it's usually just like my parents, my aunt, maybe one of my cousins, and then like my sisters. And it just something like everyone else has their families, like their own families. So they go doing their own thing. But none of us have kids. So we always kind of stick together.
I guess it just depends on the person and what their situation is.
Yeah.
Let's go into number 2, clear intentions.
Well, I didn't get to cover
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
emotional stability.
Jump into it. Let's go.
I think that in the past, for me, I have
I'm sorry about that, by
definitely,
the way, though.
I think in the past, for me, I have definitely felt really like not regulated in my emotions. I couldn't really control myself. I would jump the gun on being upset. I would be like, well, this is bullshit. Why are you doing this to me? And, the things that lots of women go through. And I think just being on birth control is a part of that. You have hormones pumping through your body. Like, things like that are a real issue among women. And I think that sometimes, for me, what I've learned, it's best to take a step back, go in the other room. And I don't want to date someone that I can't sit down and have a conversation with. Like, hey, I really don't like it when you do this. If I'm uncomfortable to say it to that person, I'm more than likely just not going to say it. And then it's just not going to work out in that relationship. If I tell them something one time and they don't accept it and it hurts their feelings and then they, get upset with me for that, I'm going to end the date or whatever, or I'm going to end whatever is happening. And I have done that before, but it's taken some time to get to a point where I feel a lot more stable.
How much do you think your previous experiences in dating play a role in emotional stability? I think it's all, right? Like every experience that we have.
Yeah. I think every experience pushes you forward, or it should push you forward. You want to learn things from it. You don't want to have the same experiences over and over and over and over and over and not ever think to yourself, what am I doing wrong in this situation that I keep getting the same outcome? That's the, definition of insanity.
To add to that, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've done taking away from the previous dating experiences is I've actually sat down and I looked at it more from like because this is just the way my mind works. I looked at it from more of like a mathematical approach. And so I looked at it from in my previous relationships, they didn't date each other, right? And so they dated me. And so if the outcome from these relationships has been the same, and I'm the common denominator in this relationship, again, like you said, why is it that I keep having these things? And so for me personally, I that's my approach to it now. I spent the last 2 years or so learning what things emotionally or what actions lead to the same emotional feeling, right? And so also too, I was pretty bad at like coping with things, and so instead of actually like wanting to dig deeper into this and figure out what it is that I was feeling and why I was feeling this, quite honestly, man, I was drinking a lot. And so I remember, you know, in the latest relationship, the most recent one that I had, I remember that individual telling me like, man, like the ugliest part of you is when you're like passed out drunk, just belligerent in the passenger seat, and I'm driving us home and I'm like having to carry you out of the car. And so those are little things that like not so much haunt me.
I will say that that was something that bothered me in my first relationship.
I think it's a problem.
He drank a lot. We were also very young, but he would drink so much. At the time I was young too, and I did the same thing, so it never bothered me. And like it kind of, he would do and say things whenever he was like so out of it. And like one time we were at a party. He was drunk in a ditch. Don't ask me how he ended up in the ditch. I'm going to get so off topic. But he's in this ditch and he was like, Kimmy, you are just so beautiful. The light is just hitting you. You're so beautiful. And he's in the ditch, no shoes, drunk off his ass. I had to take him home that night. He passed out in the car and he was like, go to my parents' house. Go to my parents' house. They're not home. I didn't know how to get to his parents' house. I was, you know, just as drunk too, driving. And it is, I mean, I should not have been driving. Don't do that. But this was younger me. You know, there were definitely points in time where I had wished he wouldn't get so fucked up, but I always kind of wrote it off. And then after we broke up, I was like,
Yeah,
maybe I don't want someone that drinks that much, because I will drink that much. I've always been partial to having fun and going to a little party or going to dance a little bit.
Man, without going too much in depth in that, because I think that's a whole nother like podcast subject we can go into. But I come from a line of drinkers. My grandpa was a drinker. My dad was a drinker. My uncles were drinkers. I mean, on both sides. And so when I look at like the damage that it's caused to certain relationships, or how much control we gave alcohol in that moment in time when we were dealing with those things, I started again, because I've worked everything. I've done like the self-diagnosis of like the common denominator, work it backwards. I look at all things that I've done, whether it's just my routine habits, whether it's how I conversate, whether it's the alcohol abuse, because that's what it was. It was alcohol abuse. And I don't know why I did it. Until this day, I don't know why I gave alcohol so much control over my life.
Give it power.
Dependency, right? Like I'm so dependent with it. And so I just knew, based on the history, I mean, I don't mind sharing this, but like I've already had a DWI. And so I had one back in like 2016.
Yeah. Have we talked about that?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And so I've already had that. And so based off my family structure with alcohol, my DWI, and then just the results from my drunk actions in a relationship, that's where I kind of was like, man, I got to stop this. Like at least let me stop now. Let me stop this, get this out of the way. What person is going to want to be like, that's the drunk dude I want to be with, you know?
Yeah,
and so
and that's another thing. In one of my past relationships, he would always bring up drinking. Like if we were out drinking and if I took one shot, he was like, oh, you took a shot tonight. We're going to end up fighting. You always get mad at me whenever you're drinking shots. If you don't drink shots, it's fine. I would be like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And he'd be out on the patio. I'd go inside and take a shot and go to the bathroom and come back. Would a fight happen? No. If he saw me or knew that I was taking a shot, it was a problem. It happened so often that it made me feel like, do I have a drinking problem? Is this an issue? But then, you know, I kind of realized no, because I don't have a problem saying no.
Yeah, I don't.
If I had a drinking problem, you don't have a problem saying no. We're really off topic though.
No, that's good though. But those are some of the things that I've done. I've gone back and I've looked at the common denominator, and I've studied some of like when I'm emotionally like overloaded, when I'm just not, and I'm try to find why I feel certain way with certain things, and try to work it backwards. If this makes me feel a certain way,
it's a toxic cycle. You know, you work so hard. I think you work hard, but you work so hard.
Thank
You
you.
have family, you have your job, you have your hobbies, you have all your things. If you want to let loose a little bit and go have a little bit of fun and have a couple of drinks, like, I don't understand why that's such a bad thing. But if someone's a homebody and they stay at home and they want to go to bed early, then maybe that's not, the person who's going to enjoy dating someone who drinks so much. So to each their own always. But
I just didn't like that part of my life, man.
yeah,
I just didn't like how
I think
like,
that I definitely I like it. I like to go out and have fun and be social with people. And
I started having this weird pain
I like
back
to
here too.
tee.
Listen to the weird pain I had back here where I was like, I need to quit drinking and see if this stops. And I haven't had it since.
What was it?
I have no idea.
In your
I think it's my
kidney?
check engine light. Yeah, it was like, hey, slow down. But
Your liver's shutting
yeah,
down?
yeah. You want to move to the next one?
Yeah, clear intentions.
Clear intentions. You started the emotional one, right?
No, I think you did.
Okay, go ahead. Pick up on.
I think when dating, there's always, you get on Hinge, right? For example, you're on Hinge. You're going to get the
A
question.
day, easy.
You're going to get the question, what are you looking for? What are you here for? Why are you on Hinge? It's the same, the same question. What are your intentions? Without saying that, they're asking you flat out, what are you looking for? And I think that there's a lot of stigma around that. I think that people are scared to say what they're looking for because it does chase people off. If I'm talking to someone on Hinge, which I've been on Hinge on and off, I always end up deleting it because I flourish in real life. I think I do a lot better.
Okay.
That circles back. No, that circles back to me being very blunt. And I think that my texting style maybe puts a lot of people off. But, I have had good conversations on there and I've met guys, like 2 guys from Hinge, but it never went anywhere. Anyways, I think that people should start, saying their intentions. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a husband. I'm looking for a wife. I'm looking for a partner in life. I'm looking for companionship. Like, I want all of these things. These are my goals. I want to do these things. Or I'm just looking to have fun. I just really want to enjoy someone's company while, I'm building my own empire or whatever they're doing. I just want that, someone to come over and cuddle every once in a while who doesn't want to meet my family on the holidays. I think that, why is it scary to say that? And I think that ultimately there are people who never want to get married, but they could be in a serious relationship for the 18 years and never marry that person, but they still built a life with that person at this point.
I know some friends that are dating that I don't think either one of them has intentions to get married and they're completely happy.
That's just it for some people.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think as I get older now, I think that like you can bombard somebody by kind of vocalizing a little too much, but I think try to keep it a little bit more, me personally, is just more like, yeah, I'm trying to date with intentions to ultimately settle down. That's kind of where I'm at. And so for me, it's I don't think in the past I've been so open with like what my intentions are, but I think as I get a little bit older and I value my time and energy a lot more, I think it's something that I do try to do. That Hinge app asks me for like, are you just dating for fun? Are you looking for something serious? Like, it actually broke it down where like,
yeah, you can also put that on your profile.
yeah, I saw that. I left it like blank because I wasn't sure, because I don't think I was.
I think I had it where you couldn't see it on my profile.
Yeah, I think
I had a
was
lot
invisible.
of stuff that you couldn't see on my profile. But also, I don't think that guys, because I date guys, but I don't think that guys really look at that, because I have a lot of tattoos. I had certain types of pictures up, and I feel like the same type of guys were super into me, and it's always the super conservative Christian. I want someone who has a relationship with God. And I'm kind of like, from my pictures and my profile, you thought that I had a relationship with God. And it's not that I'm hating on that. I have lots of friends who do. I have lots of friends who don't. But if that is what you're looking for, you're not going to get that looking at my profile. So why are you liking me?
Was it on your profile?
I think I had that I was atheist on
Okay.
my profile. So it was kind of like
Did you not
you
look
put
through it?
on your profile that you're looking for this, but then you're going to match with me and I'm atheist. Like all you had to do was like swipe on that little like bar.
I think those guys probably were not on the apps that were intentionally about what they were doing. Because like when
Because
I
they're
get,
probably just looking at the first picture
Yeah.
and then they scroll through and look at the pictures. They're like, oh, she's cute. Click.
well, see, so I actually played with it a little bit, and so like I looked at it and like I was like, you can, and so but there's a section where you can scroll to the left, and it actually breaks down like age, height, location, smoker, non-smoker, drinker, whatever. It breaks all that down, and so like
It has cannabis on there too.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
20.
I left that one invisible too. And so
I will say that helps because there were some people who I would look at their profile and although it would look like someone I would be really into, they would post something about being sober or
losers.
Like, no.
Who wants to be sober?
There was someone who had something. He looked like a great guy, and I was like, oh, like he's cute, whatever. And I'm scrolling through. It said that he was like 100 and something days sober. And I assume if you put something like that, I assume that you're an alcoholic and not just because you're living a sober lifestyle because you want to. I feel like it's kind of because you had that problem in the past. And I'm a bartender. I don't even want to
entertain it.
Yeah. And I don't drink at home really very much. So like if someone comes over, I'll have a glass of wine or that's pretty much it. A glass of wine because I don't have liquor at my house.
I stopped drinking at home. I don't know. Not to get too far off topic, but I think clear intentions are something that we all need to have before we approach get into the dating scene. Mm-hmm. We've got emotional stability,
clear intentions,
and let's jump into the third one. Self-awareness.
Ooh, dun dun dun.
Go ahead. What are you?
The worst one. I think that there's a lot of people who they don't necessarily sit and self-reflect on how could I have handled this better? What did I say that maybe I could have said better? How did I handle this situation where, I'm not going to get a bad reaction, or how can I make this better, or how,
I think the concept of self-awareness kind of ties back into that. Probably would have been one to have at the very beginning. Being self-aware as one, like your emotions, being self-aware of what you contributed to the relationship or didn't contribute.
The successes and failures.
Correct. And it kind of goes back to the beginning where I was saying like it's easy to point the finger at the other person and say, all women are, hoes or whatever.
But
right?
It should be just as easy to say, well, I contributed because I did these things knowingly and I knew that it was a problem, or, these things were a problem in my relationship. But there's always, well, I guess I don't know how to round that thought out. There's always
like routine things that you do, or like,
I think that there's like ruts that people fall into, and they get in and they're like, this is what I'm doing. This is my little comfort bubble. And this is how I do things. And you bring someone new into that and they're not doing things the way you like them. This is something I struggle with. Like you're inviting someone into your space. Like let's say you move in together or you're taking the next step in your relationship and you're not self-aware enough to see things that are potentially problems. Like, oh, I have this friend that texts me at 2 a.m. whenever they're drunk all the time. That might be a problem. Or having random, one night stands might bite you in the ass because they have friends and, I think it's good to have some self-awareness.
I think it's key. I think it's key to at least for me, and kind of like I said, back to the work that I've done. I went back and I traced kind of like the common denominators in my previous dating experience, so that I can be aware as to when I'm doing the same things again. Like, oh, you're going through this habit
It's
again.
a pattern.
Yeah, it is a pattern.
Recognizing your patterns.
And I'm going to continue to get the same results unless I do things differently. And so I never want to, now more than ever, I never want to miss out on something because I didn't, because I repeated the same habits. Or again, for me, I hate to bring this back up, but I struggle with vulnerability. And so because I don't want to miss out on something, which at the time for me was like the biggest thing in my life, that I decided to pull the plug on, knowing, like, watching that go, and like that pain that I felt at the time was like the end of the world for me. And so I never want to, and the only regret that I have with that particular situation is that I was the reason why I never got to see what could have came from that. And so that's what bothers me the most. I'm not mad of how it turned out. I'm mad that I was scared to take the risk and like pretty much shoot the shot, you know? And so being self-aware for me on those things, I now do. What's irritating you or what?
I didn't like the way I was holding it. Was like making my thumb go numb.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm gonna work on getting the stance. And so that's part of my self-awareness is and so I've spent the time now, you know, familiarizing myself with those things and how I do things so that I don't keep repeating the same mistakes. Want to jump into the next one? Independence.
Yeah, that's one that I struggle with.
I think this is good.
I
think
get
this
into
one's good.
relationships, or I start seeing someone, and then I'm like
base
what can
everything.
I do for them?
Yeah, base everything around them.
Yeah, I'm such a nurturer.
I don't.
Like, what are they thinking? How are they feeling?
I think I think independence for me, in my opinion, and just kind of again back on my experience and things like that.
It's keeping your sense of self.
Yes.
Keeping up with the things that you're already doing.
I'm okay.
And still exploring new things.
I'm okay with this. I'm okay with where I'm at. I'm okay with what I have going on. I am open to the idea of something different, but I don't need it. And so I think a lot of times, at least from what I've seen or just talking to some of my friends, I don't feel like certain people need to actively be dating because they're looking for an individual to complete them. And I honestly just, I feel like, no, I feel like you should learn to be okay with yourself. I think you have to be content with where you're at. And I think the person is just going to be an addition to a value add to what you already have. And so that was something that I've also recently, I mean, I deal with this a lot. I'm a very social person. And so part of the podcast is why to socialize. And so one of the things that I was not okay with for so long is being in this house by myself. And so even after going through the breakup and that person not being here anymore in this world of like our home, that was hard for me. And then if you look around, most of my walls are painted black. So you can only imagine I was in like a depressed state. It was this time of the year and I just was not okay with being home. And so Did it
make you feel better painting it?
I didn't want to because I wanted to sit in the darkness. I wanted to hit it head on. And so there was a moment in time too where there was a moment.
Do you think he likes it because he can see the blue?
I don't know, man.
Dogs can see blue.
And so in the midst of me going through that, I just wasn't okay with myself. And so there was that I was consuming a lot of alcohol. I was also playing with shrooms a lot. And so I would sit here in darkness, you know, I'd have mushroom experiences where I would just like have this like really, really dark, depressed like phase of my life. And then what I noticed about it though, and actually this journal that I have here, remember when we were going through it.
Mushroom thought.
Yeah, there was like.
What? You heard that. There's no way you didn't hear that.
You ripped it or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to rip. You can turn the fan on, deal.
I can't smell it yet.
And so for me, I was going through where I couldn't be by myself. And so back to kind of just putting alcohol down and staying away from certain things was because I wasn't okay with being by myself. And so part of where I'm at now and what I've learned to do is just to be okay in the comfort of my home, in the comfort of my own, my by myself. Do I still get a little, lonely, want the companionship? Yeah. I mean,
I love being alone in my apartment. I've built a sanctuary.
and so, but then I also fear that I might be a little too independent
I
because,
think that might be where I'm at right now.
yeah. And so I worry about it, but also too, again, part of being, self-aware and learn about emotions and doing this work is learning that I may be too much of that, like you can.
You will never be too much for the right person, though.
This is true. And
My parents always say that.
I think this is
And they're
the
still
next
married,
one.
so I think that they know something. Although they used to argue a lot whenever we were younger, but imagine having 3 teenage girls.
Oh yeah, women, 3 girls. But yeah, I think now where I'm at is I'm learning now to be okay with being by myself, and I've made peace with where I'm at, and I know how to regulate my emotions. I know how to be aware of certain things, and so I'm okay with being by myself.
I think that with independence, I think that there are so many people who just are clingy. They're just a clingy person. I think it all comes down to
Daddy issues.
Huh?
Daddy issues. No, I'm just kidding.
I couldn't hear you whispering. I don't have the headphones
That's
on.
right. I'm sorry.
I was like, what did he say? I mean, it could come from mommy issues too, or just parent issues in general. But I think with independence, it's good to have your independence throughout a relationship, whatever the relationship is, friendships, partnerships, marriage, dating, whatever. Keeping your independence, financial independence, just who you are, keeping that and staying true to yourself and your hobbies and taking time to yourself throughout relationships is something that I struggle with all the time.
See, I don't. I think sometimes
And that was a big thing in one of my last relationships was I felt like he just we didn't know each other so well, and I felt like he wanted to spend every waking moment he possibly could with me. No. And it kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
And although I liked it at first, it was kind of like, okay, so you're willing to call into work, you're willing to blow off your friends, you're willing to blow off your family dinner to hang out with me for 2 hours.
Could it have been maybe like an insecurity that he may have?
I'm not sure. I think that he was with, the lack of having a nicer word to say, I think he was a little desperate. That's how it came off to me. I felt like it wasn't so much that he liked me and wanted to hang out with me that much. I think he just wanted to hang out with somebody.
Man, I know plenty of people like that just
and that
can't
was something
be...
that I started fearing. I was like, does he even like me? Does he even care about what's going on? Or it just kind of felt like, oh, I need to see what she's doing. I want to see her today. And although I think that there's times where that can be positive, I feel like so quickly in the beginning, it's kind of like
red flag.
Yeah. It's love bombing essentially. Yeah. Like, oh, you're the greatest. You're seeing everything with rose colored glasses right now. And I think that he was I was vetting him. And I was asking particular questions. I was taking him on particular dates. And, I feel like he kind of wasn't doing the same with me because I had communicated a few things to him that I don't feel like he was necessarily grasping. I feel like it was kind of just going over his head. And that's one of the things that I had spoke about with him was intentions. I told him what I was looking for. But also whenever we started dating, I was like, I want a man. I want a boyfriend, And I had communicated that to him. Well, after seeing him for a while and kind of feeling the clinginess, I felt like there was a lack of independence. There was a lack of awareness. And I started wondering, okay, if I'm jumping into this with him, because that's what it felt like was jumping into it, what else is he just, jumping into without thinking? And it kind of gets your brain rolling. And I just start thinking the worst usually. I'm like, Like he just wants anybody.
You need to sit in this podcast when we get done with it. Like, these are probably the things you need, but
He'll find it on his own.
Let's go from so we've got emotional stability, clear intentions, self-awareness, independence, and the fifth one we have is desire for partnership.
That piggybacks on what I just said. I think that he really just wanted a companion there, and he didn't care who it was. And also, we saw each other for 6 to 8 months on and off. I think we stopped talking for like a month, and then we started talking again. That was when I set my intention that I really wasn't looking for a serious relationship at this point, but I liked him. I liked hanging out with him. We had a good time. I was like, I'm down to hang out and see you, and we can go do things, but I don't want a relationship necessarily right now. Because during dating, I figured out maybe I'm not ready to date. Maybe there's things I need to work on before I jump back into something. And we had this conversation. Things seemed to go well, and he asked me to be his girlfriend at the end of the night and told me that he loved me after I told him no. And I was like, okay,
So should you wait till like the third date to tell him that you love him, or can you do it on the second one?
No, you should not do it on any first, second, third, fifth, 10th. I think that's a little ridiculous.
I think you have to, I think from the term partnership, I think it's true, not just in a sense of like, that's my partner, like we're together. I think it's like when you've made the intentions clear.
I think there's a difference with looking for a relationship versus looking for a partnership.
Yeah, definitely. I think the looking for the relationship comes into like the dependency on another person. Mm-hmm. And I think more so like the partnership is where
someone
anybody,
there.
anything.
You just want to put boyfriend title on someone, or you just want to put girlfriend title on somebody.
I have made mistakes where I've like, I guess from a desperate perspective, like have entertained something when I normally wouldn't entertain it because I was in a position where I felt like, just a little bit desperate. I just wanted companionship, I think, the desire for partnership, I think I don't think I have that desire for a partnership right now. As much as
I feel like there's times where I do, and then there's times where I don't.
I think if someone was cool with like the intentions of like where I'm at with everything and what I've like currently where I'm at, like I've sacrificed a lot with starting my own business. I've sacrificed a lot when I walked away from the operation gig that I had. And so I think there are some things that I am learning to live with when it comes to now this way of doing life. His little his eyes. Yeah. And so because I've made certain sacrifices and I'm so more focused on the growth of this business and this career and reestablishing myself, I don't know if I actually crave like a partnership right now. I wouldn't be opposed to it if we had clear intentions and it was a complement to what I have going on.
I think that's how most people should look at relationships in general.
Does
it complement your life?
I agree. I think we should be, and I mean me, I think I should be going into it when the time comes. It is making that clear, or just, I guess making it clear in a sense where like, look, I don't need you just for the sake of you being here. Like I actually want to like build something, be intentional, about what we're doing. And these are the things that I have going on. Is this pretty much a partnership that like you can get on board with?
Yeah.
And then also like, what is it that you are struggling with or are looking for from a relationship? It's really treated like a business, honestly. I
think there's a yin and yang. There's a balance to relationships. What one person doesn't bring, someone else can bring in.
It's a team thing. I think it's like you're both driving a car, and eventually one of y'all is going to get tired and you want to switch, where the other one takes the wheel. Mm-hmm. And I think it's collectively, are y'all both willing to
work together?
Yeah, put 100% for the team. If today I'm at 20, and then like, hey, cool, I got it. You got it today. I'm at 80 today, and then next week or tomorrow it's vice versa. But like collectively, the partnership, the team, the business should be 100%. You want to go into readiness to compromise?
That's a big one.
That is hard.
I was talking about this with my friend earlier, and
what'd y'all come up with?
I read her my bullet points. And
That you forgot at home?
I did forget them at home. It's because I pulled them out to talk about them. That was the first thing she said was compromise. And she's married, stay-at-home mom. And that was her first comment was, you have to be willing to compromise. And I think that that is something that a lot of people lose whenever they go into relationships. You have to accept that your single life going into a relationship is not going to be the same as your life in a relationship. There's just certain things that I think that you want to go into respectfully. I think that if you're dating someone at this point, you've been talking, you're vetting them, you're asking questions, you're figuring out what type of person they are, you're looking at, you know, what are their hobbies? What are my hobbies? What is their schedule? What is my schedule? You know, you look at these things. And I think that if you're dating someone and you are a drinker and you like to go get a drink before you go home after work, and they want to see you immediately after work, or they go immediately home and it bothers them that you go to the bar. Do you like this person and care for this person enough to not go to the bar? Is it going to bother you to not go to the bar? Or is that person going to have to compromise and be okay with you going and having a drink every now and then whenever you get off?
I know friends with healthy relationships that their spouse actually encourages them to go do something like for
There were
themselves.
definitely times in both of my past relationships, my serious relationships, where I liked being at home by myself. I liked chilling on the couch and watching my girly show and having a little drinky drink. And, you know, I always drink something cute. Now I have lots of little like glasses and goblets and stuff. And I just pour my little Olippops in them, or a little soda. I'll get the small cans so that they fit in my cup.
I don't think I compromised enough in the past, but also too, I don't feel like that person kept their individuality. And so it was hard
I lost my individuality because I felt like I was compromising so much that I was bending over backwards, and there was certain things I stopped doing. I changed up my style. I did a lot of things because I felt like it would make him happy because he would make certain comments about things. And ultimately it made me feel not like myself. I lost my independence. And then I also compromised with every single thing. I felt like I could never, it not necessarily ever win, but it felt like
it was never enough.
Yeah, I felt like I was constantly reaching and reaching and reaching, and it was never good enough. I felt like I was always, well, you did this, but what about this? Well, you did this, but what about this?
Man, that's something that I've learned from, obviously like my past, right? And so that's something that I've learned that I put too much pressure on that person to, like, what's next, and so my problem.
But if that's how your brain is working,
well, what
I think it would be good to find someone with a similar value who's constantly driving and reaching and has a lot of ambition and wants these things, because you want to build something together, right? You need someone who is just as ambitious. You need someone who
I don't know if I need someone though like that, because I fear that.
I mean, they could be ambitious in different ways.
Correct.
They can be ambitious in their hobbies. They can be ambitious in wanting to learn more about things, or they could be ambitious in traveling. You just need someone with ambition.
You know what I failed to ask as I was like pushing someone to try to like do more. I never really stopped to ask the person if they were happy with where they were at. And so I think because I naturally have this desire to always push and like continue to achieve more and more and more, I would put that on that person, and then ultimately towards the end of it all, they expressed some words with me, and they were like, I just felt like no matter what I did, it was never enough for you. And that's because I never really stopped to actually listen to them and ask them that simple question along the lines of like, are you happy with where you're at? And I think I should have been more. It's woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? I mean,
I think that's a point as well. Is, are you happy with where you are before you start dating?
And I think,
Is that one of
yeah,
the
I
points?
think the next one's going to be stable life foundation. And I think we can tie that into
I think
that.
one of my points was happiness. If you're not happy with yourself, you're not going to be happy with another person.
And so I'll add to that I think that part, happiness, it's a loose term, right? But um,
You have to at least be content.
I think you at least have to have some of these things.
Yeah.
If you've got more of these things,
If you have 6 of 7, or is that 7?
it's 7, yeah.
If you have 6 of 7, you're doing great.
Yeah,
you are doing great.
I would even
If
label
you only
it
have 3 of these things, you need to
you
look
stay,
in the mirror.
Stay out of the dating scene. Don't ruin it for the rest of us.
Maybe just date for fun for a little bit, or just spend some time with yourself.
I think the readiness to compromise is something that I feel like most healthy marriages, from people that I know in a marriage, that's like one of the biggest things they talk about. And even like earlier today, I had a call from one of my friends, and he was like, "Hey man, what you up to?" And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna come by, whatever, blah blah blah." And then I was like, "Man, let me know. Look, I'm gonna hit the gym. Come by afterwards. We'll talk. We'll catch up." And he was like, "Yeah, cool." And he was like, "Wait, man, my wife's got to do something. Let me double check. I just got back in town. I can't just leave him right now." Then I never heard back from him all day, which is fine. Clearly, the compromise wasn't there.
He was like, "Oh shit, I forgot something."
Yeah, like I've been on the road. I got to tend to my family, right? And so same thing. Like my friend that was over here earlier that you met, he talks a lot about like I have to learn to not say certain things or do certain things that it's almost like picking your battles. I was like, this compromising. I have to learn to compromise because what I want from this relationship is worth the compromises that I make. And I think that's
a really good way to look at things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like what things are worth fighting for and what things aren't like letting go of. And I think right now, personally for me, I think I am in a position. I'm weird, dude. Like I've like jumped into this where like now I'm like so open for like anything. And I don't mean anything in a sense of just like some weird stuff. I'm open to
weird things.
Yeah, that's another podcast. I'm more open to things of like, new ways of doing a relationship, or like new ways of communicating, new ways of setting boundaries, new ways of communicating, new ways of just anything in general, just because everything that I've done up to this point has got me here. And so there are good things from that.
You still have to reflect on the good things that you put
absolutely.
forward.
It's taking the good things that I've learned from the past, being aware of the bad things that I contributed or not have contributed to the relationship, and then taking those things and fine tuning it and just moving forward with, with that experiences and that stuff. Let's jump into
stable
life foundation. I think this is one where I'm not, again, I brushed on it earlier, but this is the main reason.
I have lots to say about this one.
I think this is the main reason why I'm not actively out there pursuing something serious.
You feel like you don't have a stable life foundation?
Back to yes. To answer your question, yes. But the reason for that is because I feel like I sacrificed a lot when I walked away from that job where I was making good money. I don't have insurance right now. My 401k is my savings, and I'm kind of hoping on this house, right? And so like that's kind of where I'm at. And so I don't think I am stable enough right now in just
So my question is, you're dating, or not dating, but whenever you are dating, you're dating with the intention you want a family.
8 kids.
And 8 kids. Okay, you want these 8 children.
In a van.
Let's say you're ambitious. You're going to attract someone who's ambitious, or someone that you can inspire to at least be more ambitious. That's what I see for you personally. That's just my view. But I think that you bring someone in, you're bringing in another income. These things are going to help you, but you don't want to necessarily pick someone for that exact reason.
You're right.
I feel like there was someone that I've seen in the past who kind of, I think he knew he didn't really want to be with me. And looking back, there were lots of clear signs: cheating, lying, other things. And I kind of felt used in a way.
Why'd you stay?
I was not brave enough to walk away. I don't know. I just couldn't do it.
Was it like an emotional thing that kept you there?
I think that I was just at a really low point in general. Whenever we first started dating, I
You lacked independence.
I lacked a lot of things. And I was also young and impressionable. And I feel like it was just the right concoction of manipulating
Concoction. I
and
thought I was the only one that used that word.
no, it was a nice little concoction of manipulation and
The perfect shitstorm.
toxicity, and there was a lot of reasons why we should not have been together, and that relationship should have never progressed, but it was a constant battle.
I've had some like that where there were like situationships where we know we're not good for each other. We know we shouldn't be doing this. But it was more of like a lust fun type of thing where we were just.
And I don't think that those things are bad. I think that sometimes those things can help you realize things, because I've had flings with guys in the past where I was like, I wouldn't necessarily date that guy. He wouldn't work for me, but he's great right now. And you still take things. You still take things. I don't hate a lot of the guys that I've seen in the past. I actually have very fond memories with a lot of them, most of them. There are some guys I'm kind of like, ooh, let me forget about that one.
There was a few that I wish would have ended a little bit better, just out of the sake of like respect. I think like have the mutual like what do you call it, like
I think I haven't really had a genuine like experience where something ended really horribly with someone that I was fond of, that I was dating. I've had things happen where I felt forced to have to be a bitch to cut things off.
I think I think I might care a little bit too much of like how people think of me, and I don't want them to ever be like, oh, that dude's a hypocrite. And I think there was one time where something ended that I wish I would have spoke on it and like cleared the air, but it was easier for me to just kind of like it. I'm working on this.
Step away.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I've always done, and so I'm trying to work on that, right? And so, in this particular situation,
I think you've done well, because didn't you do that with the last girl you were kind of talking to?
Yeah, and so I tried to talk to her. Fernando has this thing where he teeter-totters the fence line. If I want to commit to this or not, is this someone that I really like or not? And I think I need to be a little bit more intentional about what I'm doing. And this is all like growth and stuff that I'm trying, right? And so in that split moment, when things got a little bit too much, I really started to question, is this someone that I can really see myself with? And I was fighting it. Part of me was like, yes, part of me was no. And so instead of expressing that, I did the cowardly thing and I pulled away. And so, what happened is she ended up reaching out and was like, hey, what's going on with us? Like, we were to the point to where like we were hooking up and doing, whatever. And so there was a little bit more intimacy there. We were a little bit closer. And so again, the cowardly thing for me was to just pull away. And I pulled away because I was unsure about my feelings. And so instead of like having,
I think if you're unsure, that's kind of also a telltale that
I shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was trying to, and I think that was maybe in a sense where I was a little bit, desperate or a little lonely, where I allowed the idea of someone to come in because I was craving that. And so I'm trying to be a lot more aware again of that emotional stability and self-awareness when I do these things. These are emotions and that I'm feeling right now. These are the triggers. Don't go looking for something and get into something when you're not being intentional about it. Because ultimately, I feel like I kind of let that person down, and I just wish I would have handled it different, because if I see them out and about, I would want to be on okay terms. Like in the moment.
Well, in the moment, whenever things happen and you go separate ways, it can be heated, and you can always come back and make up for it. And I mean, if they're open to a conversation, you can communicate those things to her and say,
hey, if you're listening. No, I'm just kidding.
Say, hey, this was, I felt like I kind of left things a little shitty, and
yeah. And that's one thing I'm trying to learn from. And again, back to like self-awareness and kind of dissecting the same habits and stuff that I do. I need to be a little bit more, again, I think it was another fear, and it was another version of vulnerability for me. And again, going back to that being something that I struggle with, I had done so well to get to that level, which was way further than what I've done in the past. And so once I got into another level of vulnerability, I panicked and I ran. And so I think going forward now is I'm going to just have these conversations with this person. And I don't know.
I think that a big thing is a lot of guys don't want to talk about their feelings.
We don't know how to. We've been programmed where
And
this
I
is
think
going to go a
that's-
whole
it's-
other dimension.
We should circle back to that last topic.
Let's just leave
We
it.
didn't really talk about it.
Oh, we didn't. We went to yeah. Actually, I did. I did touch on it. I touched
You
on it a little bit.
on it, but
where
we didn't dive into it. I have some shit to say.
Let's
about
go.
Stable Life Foundation.
I'm all headphones.
So I think dating someone when for example, personal experience. I met a guy.
What's his name? Don't say it. Don't say it. We're not name dropping. We're not bashing nobody.
So
All
me
right.
and my friends have a name for him, but that might give him away as well.
No, don't say it.
It's the nickname. You know the girls do that.
John A. John.
Huh?
We'll call him John.
John Doe.
John Doe. John Vickery.
John Vickery. That sounded, I was going to say something else. Anyways, I didn't realize how soon he was out of a relationship, like how recent he was out of a relationship. And that was a question I didn't ask. I asked how long his last relationship was. And I didn't specifically ask ever when they broke up. I kind of just, the vibe was, it seemed like the way he talked about it, it seemed like he had done a lot of the emotional work that I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, this is in the past. I didn't think it was the very recent past. And we continued talking, and I don't remember how long we like texted for before we hung out. I met him in person, but we texted for a while before we hung out again. And he kind of didn't have his shit together.
Where'd you meet him?
I don't want to say because that gives it
Okay.
all away.
It wasn't online?
No, it wasn't. We met in person.
Okay.
So, you know, I thought things were great. I thought we hit it off really well. He's a great guy, I think. But there was some things I definitely noticed while we were talking that I was like, ooh, like, I don't know if this guy, like, on paper, he sounded great. And then whenever it came down to it, I was like, this guy still has, you know, a lot of emotional turmoil that he needs to get through for him to have a successful relationship. And his ex-girlfriend, this is whenever I found out how recent everything was, something popped off. She figured out that we were seeing each other, and
You told me about this, huh?
she texted him some hateful things about me and just talking shit in general. And it was his response to that. I immediately clocked it. I was like, this guy is not over his ex. He was hot. He was heated. And one of the comments he made that stuck out to me in particular was that they went to the same gym. He wanted to go to the gym to kind of like confront her, I guess, or like see her or try and talk to her. And I think he said he did get up and go to the gym to go see if she was there. And I was like, what? I was like, why did you just say that to me? But that was kind of when I realized, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going anywhere. Well, I continued seeing him. I wasn't seeing anybody else. I was, you know, he was hot. I enjoyed his company. I enjoyed looking at him. It was great. And he was also really funny. He made me giggle, because I love to giggle. So at that point, I was like, you know, I kind of realized maybe I'm not quite over my past relationships. And I think that there were things that I took from my first relationship, because whenever we broke up, I was destroyed. It took me a long time to get over that. I was hurt. And we go through things in life where your past traumas pop back up. So I think that that's something that you need to work through. And that was something that attracted me to this guy, was he had self-help books. He was always working on himself. He was always building towards something else, but he just didn't have the emotional stability and a good life foundation at the point that we were talking. I felt like he was kind of in between steps. And I felt like well,
Kind of like right person, wrong time type of
not even
deal.
that.
No?
I think maybe not even the right person. I don't think that he was necessarily the wrong person. I think that there's definitely things in that,
Two people just aren't compatible.
in that, I don't want to say relationship. It wasn't really a relationship, but we had, you know,
Situationship.
yeah, I get not really even that, but with people that you're dating, I feel like that's why it's important to actively listen to what they're talking about, to actively listen and to, you know, observe their responses to things. Because if I was just like, yeah, you know, that girl's a bitch, why would she talk about me like that? That's fucking bullshit. Instead of, why is he so mad about this?
Yeah.
He was mad because she figured out, and I think that was when he probably maybe wanted her back because she had finally reached back out or something. But like, you shouldn't be dating at that point if you're not over your ex.
Would you attribute that to having a stable life foundation?
Yeah, I feel like that was something he was.
He wasn't his.
I think I don't remember exactly. I think he had moved out of her house and had his own place, but he didn't have his own things. The place he was renting was fully furnished, and I think that was something he had also kind of complained about, was having that individuality. Like, it wasn't his in a way. And I think that it also made him more sad because here he is in a new place with things that aren't his, and it probably didn't feel like home. And I feel like that's not really a stable life foundation. And I feel like if you're, you know, there are things you need to work on, and clearly he had things he needed to work on and work through to get to the next step. And I did too, because I chose someone ultimately who was emotionally unavailable.
I love this dog.
I know, his little googly eyes.
I would agree with you, man. I have personally seen. I'm not actively out dating, and I haven't been actively out dating in a while. But I do have friends that I talk to that vent to me, and they tell me about their relationship situations, and you know, we talk on a regular basis, or I know a lot about them. Where, you know, I dissect like their life almost in a sense, just from the outside, right? Like judging. And they're not in the best, like, I don't think like the best foundation to be dating. Like, it's like, you know, they'll have some financial hiccup and, you know, they're like, oh, I'm stressed because I got to deal with this. And then so-and-so dating, whatever, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, like, if you aren't like have at least all your ducks in the pond, then you probably don't need to be out, you know, entertaining other stuff. I think this is why I wanted to do this, because I personally feel like these are all key things that we all need to do in order to get that stable life foundation.
There's a lot of people who jump into relationships immediately after another without doing the self-evaluation.
Yeah. You want to run back through these just real quick, just to see?
Yeah, you want to touch on them?
Yeah. So I think from the very beginning, we did dating. We did Are You Fit for Dating? And we kind of split it up into two, where are you dating for fun? And as long as everybody is on the same page and the communication has been put out on the table, then it's all fair game at that point. If you're dating for fun, those are the terms of like your own. And then we broke it down to intentional dating. And kind of before you get into intentional dating, these are some of the things that we feel people should try to almost check boxes for themselves to see if they are more checked than not, right? Number one was emotional stability. Number two was clear intentions.
Self-awareness.
Number three was self-awareness. Number four,
independence.
Number five, desire for partnership. Number six is readiness to compromise. And number seven was life stability. Where are you at in these things? How many of these boxes do you feel like you've got checked? We're gonna play matchmaker here. If you guys are interested in my friend, Kim,
I got so many ads after you posted that, but I don't know if it's because I comment on my friends' stuff all the time on Instagrams. Like, they'll post pictures.
Are they mutual friends with me?
Gorgeous.
Are they mutual friends with me or no? Some were, some weren't.
I think most of them were.
You dirty dogs. You saw.
If I don't know someone, I don't go and look. Like, if their picture and their name doesn't like ring a bell, I deny it.
Just people. See, I stopped going and adding random females. It's weird. It was like a childish thing to do at this point. If I don't have any direct relationship,
I think
with
if
you or
you're going to
something.
randomly add people, you should at least make your profile public, so
You can see what you're getting
I can
into.
go decide if I want to follow you or
Yeah.
not.
Oh, this guy's cute.
Yeah, I know.
He looks emotionally unstable. I'm in.
My biggest pet peeve. This is completely off topic, but it bothers me so much when men follow me and I'm like, oh, who is this? And I click their profile and it's public and they don't have a single picture of themselves. Like, it's all memes or it's all like reposts of other videos. I'm like, who is this? Why are you following? Like, why me?
That happens to me too, because I'm like in the car scene, so a lot of guys are real proud of their cars. So they're usually their profile picture is their car, and so like I don't have any pictures of them, and so then I'll get this random guy walk up to me and he's like, "Hey, what's up, Fernando?" And I'm like,
who is this?
and they're like, "I drive the da da da," and I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up? What's up?" You know, so and so by their screen name. You know,
There was an artist that followed me, and I don't remember how I found him. I think he might have just found me on Instagram, but we would talk on Instagram about painting and things frequently. So I don't know where the mix-up happened. I think he just knew who I was from mutual friends. But he was following artists I knew, and he was also following some people that I knew. So I was like, oh, he knows me from art or someone that I know, because his profile is all art. He has no pictures of himself, and his profile name doesn't say his real name either. So I saw him in person and I didn't know who he was. And he came to my bar and it was the vibe. He seemed very familiar with me, and he had messaged me that he was going to come see me on the art page. And I wasn't really sure what he looked like or anything, but we had always talked about art. So I was, I'm not opposed to it. Well, he came in and I was like, this has got to be that guy. It's got to be. But I wasn't really sure. So I was more friendly with him because I was like, it's got to be him. And he said something about our conversation. I was like, oh, yeah, that's
him.
Definitely him. I called it. I knew it. But I even after he said he was going to come, I even went to his Instagram and I scrolled all the way through so I could see if there's no picture of him.
We got to do a better job.
And there was no tagged picture either. So I don't even know who I was meeting. It was weird. Don't do that. At least have one picture.
You never answered it before we finish. I wanted to see where you were at in your.
Where am I at? I don't know.
I think I'm.
I feel like
you have. Do you have more or not? Do you have more checked?
I feel like I have the emotional stability. I feel like I don't really know what I want right now in dating. So
awareness. So you like a little awareness of what you want in a sense. Would you say that? Is it fair to say that?
I feel like self-awareness kind of goes into being aware of what you're doing and where you're at and where your head's at and what mistakes you're making.
So your intentions are unclear right now.
That's why I'm kind of not dating right now.
Yeah.
I think the last date I went on was too good, and American boys just don't compare. They really don't.
You found one guy from
now I'm totally
madly in love. I think I have more yeses than nos. I think
I have more yeses than I did even just a few months ago. So
I would entertain something as long as most of my relationships come off like really organic. They just kind of flow. And so I don't know if that's just because I'm a very open, honest, transparent person, especially now as I get older.
I usually end up dating people I'm like already familiar with.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I think we build like a good friendship
That's kind of
first.
my pattern, so maybe I need to change up my pattern.
Yeah, I'm just gonna date. I'm gonna date like I don't know. I think I'm gonna go for older women that have money. I'm just kidding.
Younger guys keep hitting on me, and is that what it is? Do they think I have money?
Man, I don't know, but I'm not. It's hard to.
I don't.
That's a whole nother topic. I'm not gonna get into that.
Unless you have money, then I have money.
Guys, is there anything else you wanna go? We've gone an hour. I feel like this is good enough. I mean, we've covered everything. Pretty structured. Do you feel comfortable with it so far, or what? Or is there anything else you want to tap into?
If we're talking about emotional, I think we touched on emotional stability a lot. Clear intention, self-awareness, independence, desire for partnership.
I think it all just kind of ties back in together. I think these are all very good things that we should all be looking for.
I had some points that were really good that we could have added, but I forgot my paper.
So we looked at I made a poll on not a poll, but I made a post on Talk of League City.
Read that?
we can skim through most of them. I mean, I remember some of them. I made a post on Talk of League City, and I asked.
They were juicy comments.
Some of them were good. A lot of them were good. Yeah. It seems that. Okay, based on the post of Talk of League City, it seems like a lot of people have pretty much given up on dating.
It really does.
And so, and that was people that looked like they were probably in their late 20s, early 30s, and then also people that some were talking about that they had grandkids. And so, I personally know people that are in all age groups that are also struggling with this, and I think this is why I wanted to have this episode and why I wanted to talk about this, because I personally feel that before getting into that field and before, playing around with someone's emotions and more so, peeing more in the dating pool than it's already been peed in, I think we need to do the self-work and go through these things and figure out a little bit more about us so that we know what we want from someone instead of playing these games, and just being transparent. I feel like a lot of people are just unintentionally just going through stuff and kind of giving themselves up to people or exposing themselves and hooking up too fast before we actually get to build a relationship with somebody. And I think those are one of the things that I'm working on a little bit more is the most recent person I was seeing. I made it very clear from her. I said, hey, look, normally I meet someone, we hit it off, we end up hooking up, and then it kind of dies down. I don't want to do that with you. Like, I don't want you to just to be another person I sleep with, and then, it goes nowhere. And what ended up happening ultimately, obviously,
I think a better way of saying that to a woman would probably be like, I want to know you. I want to get to know you before we step into intimate. I want to know you before we get intimate. I think it's good to build a nice emotional connection.
And that's what I'm going for now. I think if I am going to do the dating scene, I definitely want to get to know kind of all aspects of who that person is from from like not a physical, a sexual way. I don't.
Yeah, I think once you sleep with someone, it pretty quickly turns into sleeping together every time you see each other.
Yeah, it becomes a very lust-driven thing.
It kind of takes out the idea of dating and vetting people because you've already had that at this point.
And I robbed myself of that experience of actually getting to know that person for more than just like a sexual approach. So I think that's where I'm at. Some of the stuff we collected.
I think that I have covered a lot of those. I think that I have, I feel like I'm not super stable in my life, but I think I'm stable enough to enter into a relationship.
I would say so, just based off the conversations we have, and
I don't think compromise is a problem of mine.
Just based off the conversations we have, and just being able to have this conversation alone, just lets me know that at least you have some awareness as to where you're at. And I think as long as you're aware of what you're doing or how you're contributing or not contributing to this thing, I think that's a huge thing is self-recognition, awareness, and that sense of independence. I think you have that. I think you obviously do. You're okay. You've been okay for a while by yourself. And so
2 years.
I would hope that yeah, man, I think I would be okay with kind of jumping back into it, but I'm not necessarily really looking for it.
And that's the thing is, if I really wanted a boyfriend, I could have said yes to that guy.
I think women have it easier.
And that's not the only guy that's asked me to be their girlfriend so far. But that was the only one I would have seriously considered.
Unless you got anything else, man, I'm good.
I think I'm good too.
Guys, thanks for checking this out. I hope you guys...
Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this or took something away from it. I think, I don't know what's going to happen with the next episode. I think we're going to dive in a little bit, and I think this is where I personally kind of...
Send suggestions.
Yeah. I kind of personally want to...
What do y'all want to hear about?
Want to jump into... I want to jump into people's dating stories. I want to bring in people and kind of get their experience and see...
Horror stories? Can I read the horror stories? You can read the good ones. At. I want to read the bad ones. I want to know the tea.
So let's...
Send in anonymous stories.
Yeah. Actually, I made an email for this.
Yeah.
I did.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna put the email in here. So if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, you guys can go ahead and send us an email, and we'll just go from there. Or you can leave it in the comments because it'll be on YouTube when we get done doing all this.
Like and subscribe.
Cheers.
Cheers.